from Mr. Morton's Barmy Book of Bonkers Bits.
Hello there, and welcome to Mr. Morton's Barmy Book of Bonkers Bits. I am Mr. Morton. Glad to have you here. Say, have you ever heard the story about the Accidental Axolotl? No? Well, you see, Tilly Mudge liked Axel the Axolotl's tank to be tidy. Every morning before school, she checked everything was in exactly the same order. Filter? Fine. Plant? Fine. Castle? Still wonky, but fine. Thermometer? Very important. She tapped the little glass tube and squinted at it. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. And then she looked straight at Axel. Axel, who was pink and frilly and very pleased with himself, blinked back from his spot behind the castle. Tilly pointed a finger through the glass. Axel, no heroics today. Axel blinked in response. I mean it. Then she picked up her bag and went to school. For a while, everything was peaceful. The filter hummed, the bubbles burbled, and the plant waved gently. Pip and Pop, the two tiny shrimp, were arguing besides the bubbler. Colin the snail was making his way slowly up the back glass, which for Colin counted as a wildly ambitious morning. But then, the thermometer fell off the wall. A tiny peeling sound, a tiny pause, and then it slid down the glass and landed in the gravel with a soft little thump-plink. Everybody froze. Colin peered down at it. Well, he said, that is not where it goes. Axel puffed out his gills. I'll fix it. Pip walked round. No! Pop whipped round too. Absolutely not! Colin said, I strongly recommend you do nothing at all. Well, it was too late. Axel was already swimming down because the thermometer was important. Tilly checked it every day, and if she came home and found it lying in the gravel like a dropped sausage, she'd be upset. Axel nudged the thermometer with his nose, and it rolled over. So he nudged it again, and it somehow ended up being jammed between two pebbles. Right, said Axel, a slightly bigger nudge this time. Then he put his two front feet on it and he shoved, but the thermometer stayed put. The gravel, however, did not. A little stream of pebbles went slithering sideways and slammed into the castle. The castle leaned, then leaned a bit more, and then tipped right over with a soft underwater blump. Colin looked at it. Well, he said, that is a shame. Axel stared at the thermometer, then at the castle, then at the loose turret rolling away through the gravel. Oh, it's fine, he said. Pip whimpered. Pop said nothing, which was worse than the whimpering, because Pop always had something to say. Axel shoved the castle with his nose, but nothing. He backed up and wagged his tail and charged. The castle flipped upside down and straight into the bubbler. All at once, the stream of bubbles shot sideways like a mad little underwater hose, blasting sand across the tank with a whoosh splatter. The filter clogged the gravel and made a horrible choking rattle, a glunk, glunk, gronk, that had never been a good sound and was definitely not one now. Suddenly, the water began to go brown. Not slightly brown, like proper soupy brown. Axel blinked through the cloud. Right, he said. New plan? No more plans, said Pip. 0 plans, said Pop. Colin moved 1 slow millimeter up the glass. Perhaps we could wait quietly for Tilly. But now the filter spout jerked sideways and water sprayed up at the lid and a little stream splashed out onto Tilly's desk, right beside her library book. Pop looked from the splashing water to the book. If that gets wet, he whispered, she'll go spare. Not spare, said Colin. Much quieter than spare. She'll go bananas, whatever a banana is. Axel's eyes went wide. Right, he said. Emergency fixing. And he plunged to the gravel and dug for the thermometer with both front feet. Fast. Much too fast. And it caused the cloud to get thicker and the hole to get deeper. One back foot kicked out and hit the plant, and the plant uprooted and floated sideways like a surprised wig. Axel popped up out of the gravel, coughing bubbles. No thermometer, no castle, no plant, no visible floor. He turned and bonked straight into the heater. His tail lashed out and caught the heater cord, and the cord wrapped around his middle. Well, then his front foot, and then, as he turned to look at it, his tail got caught up as well. Axel flapped and flopped, and the heater swung round and smacked the food pod with a decisive clonk. Fish flakes rained through the brown water like soggy confetti. One flake landed squarely on Axel's nose, and he sneezed. Not a polite sneeze, but a full-body axolotl sneeze. A violent underwater sneeze that blasted the mud cloud and sent the thermometer shooting straight up out of the gravel. The suction cup hit his left gill, and it stuck. There was a pause. Axel hung in the middle of the tank, upside down, wrapped in the heater cord, wearing the thermometer on his face. Colin stared at him for a very long time. Then he said, "Well?" The filter gave another dreadful clunk, and more water splashed out onto the desk. The puddle reached the library book. Axel twisted, the cord tightened, and he wriggled and he wriggled and he spun. "Left!" shouted Pip. "Your other left!" shouted Pop. But it was too late. Axel whirled through the floating plant, hit the no fishing sign with his tail, and the lid jumped wide open with a thwap. A proper spray of water jumped out of the tank and right onto the corner of the library book. Even Colin gasped. Then the bedroom door opened and Tilly walked in, stopped, and stared. Brown water, castle upside down, plant adrift, heater loose, lid open, water on her desk. And Axel was spinning slowly in the middle of it all, thermometer stuck to his gill like a badge for a very bad behaviour. Tilly put down her bag. Why is the tank doing that?" Nobody answered. Tilly rolled her eyes and then rolled up her sleeves. The cleanup took a while. At one point, Axel tried to help and immediately shoved a neat pile of gravel into the wrong corner. "No, Axel," said Tilly. "Not helping is helping." At last the tank was calm. Water clear, castle upright, thermometer back on the wall. Tilly switched off the lamp. "Good night, trouble." And then she went to bed. The room went dark. The filter hummed. And for a long time, everything was peaceful. But then there came a tiny peeling sound. And everyone in the tank froze as the thermometer slid down 1/2 centimeter. And Axel opened one eye and said, "Right," as he made his way to the thermometer. And Colin whispered, "Uh-oh, here we go again." And that's the story about the Accidental Axolotl. Now, before you go, I want to tell you something, and I want you to keep it to yourself. The people who press follow or subscribe, well, they always get the next story. Every single one. And the ones who visit Mr. Morton's balmybook.com and tell their friends, well, let's just say I notice. I always notice. The other ones, the ones who simply drift off without a word, well, they're perfectly nice people, I'm sure, but they're not quite regulars. Not quite in the good books. So if you want to be in the good book, press follow and subscribe and join me again for another story. I've been Mr. Morton, and you've been listening. Bye!
Thanks for joining Mr. Morton in his brilliantly balmy bonkers book. Spread the word to your wonderfully wacky friends. Like this episode, leave a comment, and subscribe for more silly stories, or visit Mr. Morton's balmybook.com. And remember, the world needs more magnificent